Good morning, everyone. We are continuing with our conversation about the Festival of Light. So we'll start with the prayer and then we'll come into this. Just close up the book. There we are. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Sri Yukteswar, beloved Master Paramhansa Yogananda, saints of all religions, dear friend Swami Kriyananda, humbly we bow to you all. Bless us with the deep understanding of your divine inspiration through this Festival of Light, that we may be able to participate with open hearts and minds, and through this ritual receive your living presence. Om. Peace. Amen. Okay, my friends, we have just gone through a passage through dim corridors of waking consciousness. We have emerged into infinite light, into perfect joy, and we are children of light who are about to forsake the darkness. And then Swamiji, he puts into this ritual in a few places that we get to stand up. Swami has joked about some rituals where you just do nothing but move around. And Swami says, perhaps to keep the congregation awake, he said rather pointedly. But he has a few places in this where he has you stand. Oh, and for my own personal preference, and in fact I have to admit freely, sometimes when I'm in the congregation and not leading it, I disregard the instruction because I don't feel that I would be more attentive for moving. I prefer to just sit without moving and meditate through it. But I only do that if I actually am deep enough into meditation that it would be disturbed by standing. If I am only pretending, I always participate in the instructions as Swami gave them because I feel that he had reasons. And friends of mine have said, so the minister, the light bearer, raises his hands and says, "O children of light, forsake the darkness," and immediately says, "Please stand." And other people have spoken to me about it like it's an affirmation to stand up, that you're putting a physical posture into the mental commitment, and that physical posture creates more dynamism for your commitment than if you're just sitting there saying it. So, children of light, forsake the darkness, please stand. So when I do have the occasion to stand up, I always try to keep that in mind. I'm rising to the occasion, literally. And let's think of the energy coming up the spine and bringing me, to my full warrior stance as I affirm this new reality. And then what comes is, then there's a further affirmation. "O children of light, forsake the darkness. Know that forever you and he are one." And it's a declarative sentence. Know that forever you and he are one. And so we've embraced this affirmation with everything that we have, including our physical energy. Because he breaks it up. "O children of light, forsake the darkness." He could have said, "O children of light, forsake the darkness. Know that you and he forever are one." But instead he broke it up. "Children of light, forsake the darkness. Please stand. Know that forever you and he are one." Now, we have to go back to the very beginning when I was talking about this. A ritual is not a magic formula. It's not like a magic spell that a wizard can say and all of a sudden the secret door opens or the mist clears. A ritual is something that is exactly as powerful as we receive it. And even the most dynamic presenter of this ritual, the most dynamic light bearer, can certainly, with their own commitment and magnetism, create a magnetic atmosphere, but whether you receive that magnetism is entirely a personal choice. So we can become blasé about this, please stand up, and we stand up. Or we can say, I am responding to the call that the light bearer is putting forward, and I am rising to it. And then when he says, know that forever you and he are one, that's quite a promise. And it's even a deeper promise if we really know that. Well, I mean, how would my life be different if I really did know that for all eternity I am one with God? I always have been and I always will be. How would my life be different if I actually believed that when it was spoken? And this is what we get an opportunity to do every time we participate in this, is we get to take that thought deeper and deeper into the subconscious. This is what Swamiji said is the great power of ritual, repeating ritual, far from becoming dull and ordinary. It goes deeper and deeper and deeper into the subconscious mind especially. Because you see, the subconscious mind, we're constantly programming it. We're programming it with a whole series of beliefs about who I am and what is real and where my happiness comes from. And then my subconscious mind automatically feeds those ideas to my conscious awareness. So when challenges come or positive situations come, when things happen in my life, my subconscious mind feeds me answers. And when our subconscious mind has been sufficiently programmed with superconscious awareness, then the subconscious begins to cooperate with our superconscious aspirations. If the subconscious mind has been fed constantly, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, everybody else is more advanced than I'm never going to make any progress spiritually, I have so many desires, I have so many angers, then when anything happens, that's what the subconscious mind feeds us. It's completely impersonal. Even though it feels very personal, it's impersonal in the sense it's just telling you what you told it. That's what I mean. It doesn't initiate. The subconscious appears to initiate it, but it doesn't. It is exactly like the program in a computer. And because I'm not very technically savvy, I sometimes feel that my computer has a diabolical interest in thwarting my intentions. But it doesn't. And when someone who understands the machine comes in, they just adjust the machine, and then all of a sudden the machine's my friend again. Because it was merely doing what it was told to do, and somehow it got programmed to do something that was annoying. But you fix it, and it's positive. But the subconscious mind is programmed by us. And it's programmed by us on a minute-by-minute, everyday issue. It tells us what we have told it. Know that forever you and he are one. And who am I talking to? I am talking to my subconscious mind. The light bearer is talking to the congregation, but when I'm receiving it, I'm saying to you, which is me, you, the part of me who doesn't know this. Children of light, forsake the darkness. Stand up and claim this as your own. And then Swami has us become active again. We raise our hands, raise your hands in chanting Om. Ask that the power of God replenish you in body, mind, and soul. Replenish is a very interesting word there, isn't it? It fills us up again. To replenish means that power has been diminished, and now we bring that power in again. And again, this is the rhythm of the way our spiritual life works, which is that we're lifted on a wave of inspiration, we ride that wave for a period of time, and then other karmas come in and gradually erode the power of that wave, and we sink down into our samskars, which are past life impressions, which are also stored in our subconscious, and gradually whatever part of our subconscious doesn't yet believe that inspiration is our true nature, it gradually eats it up and we begin to sink. So we want the power of God to replenish us, to replenish our divine storehouse of joy and understanding and wisdom and freedom. Replenish us, and we say in body, mind, and soul. All three aspects of our nature We raise our hands and chant Om. And in this part of the ritual, we are receiving. Most of the time when we're chanting Om, we're sending energy. I mean, that's how we often use it. We rub our hands together, then we raise our hands, and we rub our hands together to generate energy and magnetism. Then we raise our hands, and you feel that energy going out. But this is the opposite. This is receptive. Raise our hands and chanting Om, ask that the power of God replenish us. So we have to learn how not only to give, but also to receive, which in many people's lives is a huge karmic lesson. To have the confidence to ask God to replenish us, that I have a right to ask for that, and then also just to allow that to come into us. Now bear in mind, way back on the first page of this, to all those who received him, how did Swami use it? He quoted, the divine light returning anew to earth, actually he doesn't have the whole quote, has given us power, as the Holy Bible proclaims, to become the sons of God. Well, the rest of that quote is, to all who received him, to them gave he the power. So here we are, we're receiving. And are we receiving? I had a very interesting experience when I was in seclusion once. One time when I was in seclusion, I was meditating, and in my meditation I was offering myself into the light, and I was offering myself to God in the way that one does. And I just had this thought when I was meditating that I would try to receive Divine Mother's love instead of just sending it out. Now, of course, it's not like that thought had never occurred to me, but it occurred to me on a more dynamic level. And thinking of what St. John says in the Bible, I tried hard to receive the love of Divine Mother. It was very, very interesting, because I was sensitized because I was in seclusion, so I was very aware of the divine flow. I was living in this flow of divine energy, and the silence and the solitude. I was up at Ananda village, as it were. I think I was actually living in what had been Swami's dome. I'm pretty sure that's where I was when this happened, just to say the energy was very strong. But I could feel that, this is how it felt to me, that there was a certain vibration that was the divine energy all around me. And when I prayed for Divine Mother to send her energy to me, I could feel it coming to me. And I could feel it could penetrate to a certain point. Now, we're not talking about physical things. We're not talking about water soaking into a carpet or something like that. We're talking about vibrations. And everything in creation is vibrations. This is why the world appears solid, is because all the different energy elements are vibrating at different rates. And because of that, when the two vibrations meet each other, they don't merge. They contradict each other, and it holds them separate, if you can picture that. I mean, that's why I can sit on the chair, and even though the chair is energy and I'm energy and the floor is energy, all of these things, we're all vibrating at different rates. Now, there's probably a more cogent scientific way of saying that, but this is essentially what's happening. This is how everything in creation can be energy. Everything can be a manifestation of Sat Chit Ananda, which is the divine consciousness, but it all appears separate because it's all vibrating at different rates. And this is how God's love can be flowing to us at all times, but only those who receive it are transformed by it. To receive it means to attune yourself to it. Now, when I was a child, and this is an image that doesn't even exist anymore, but it's probably close enough in time that most of you can imagine it, you had to tune your radio. And as a child, we had this big console radio that, when I was little was the same size as me. And there was this big, beautiful dial on it, and you would turn it on, and then you would turn this big wheel, and the needle would move across, and it would hit different numbered vibrations which were different stations. Wavelengths was the word that would be used then. And you could literally just pick up this one, and then you would hear it for a while, and then you'd move it, and then you'd hear this one, then you'd move it, and you'd hear this one. Now, the most magical thing about all of those, which you can still experience through the internet, was it's all there all the time. It's not created when you turn on your machine. It was not created when I turned on the radio. It was received when I turned it on. But it was only able to receive where I attuned it. And in this case, it was the dial, the knob that I turned. And I don't know what the mechanics are inside. I don't have that kind of a mind. But I would attune to this number, and I would receive what they were giving me. A baseball program. I would attune to this number. All of a sudden, I was hearing world news. I would attune to this number, and I was hearing classical music. I would attune to this one, and I was hearing one of the comedy programs that used to come over the radio. That was really fun to listen to when I was a child. They were all in the room simultaneously. And the question was whether I turned on the radio and how I attuned it. And so Master often talked about, receptivity in spirituality in terms of tuning the radio, because it was a very apt image in the 1920s. In the 2020s, I talk to people about it, and I see my friends who are my millennial friends. It doesn't communicate. It's like when Jesus talked about the shafts of wheat and what you would do with your sheep, and so on. It's like I listen to them now, and I don't know what Jesus was talking about. But when Jesus did it, the people, his listeners, knew exactly what he was talking about. So having created that whole image, there I was meditating, and I wanted to receive Divine Mother's energy. Like, why not? Who would not want to receive it? Of course I wanted to receive it, but my inherent vibration was to like a quarter of an inch receptive. Like my energy could merge with that divine energy that was coming, enough to know it was there and to feel it a little bit, but then it ran into the rest of me, is the only way I can call it. That whole subconscious part of myself, which was tuned into a different radio program. Now here's another part of this that's really important. Master says in Autobiography of a Yogi, thoughts are not individual, they are universal. And the thoughts that we receive, which we think of as my thoughts, are actually simply a reflection of the vibration of consciousness that we're on. What we're tuned to is what we receive. And so I'm attuned to, for example, wanting to serve God and wanting to do a project that I think will inspire. And so I might receive lots of inspiring ideas if my energy is attuned to service, to creativity, to courage, to imagination. Then universal thoughts that match that vibration will come into me. And if I fall into a thought of, oh, but it's much too hard, I can't do it, it's much too much work, then all of a sudden I'm vibrating on the level where things are hard and things are much too much work. And all of a sudden my mind is filled with all the reasons why it's hard and it's much too much work. And I can't remember anymore why I wanted to do it. And I no longer receive thoughts that tell me, oh, yes, you can. It's not because those thoughts are not available universally, but because I've moved the dial, my mental dial. And now why would I move my mental dial? Because I have samskars. I have past impressions on my consciousness. Whether I define samskars as from previous lives, but samskars are just impressions on your consciousness. Maybe in other lifetimes, maybe 5 years ago in this lifetime, I got really excited about doing something, but it didn't work out very well. And so I have a samskar that says things don't work out very well. So I escape from it for a while, but then it eats me up again and it pulls me down into a reality in which those inspiring ideas can't match. Swamiji commented once that, many, many beautiful things that God would send into the world are never manifested for lack of a willing human instrument. Because the thoughts are there to be manifested, but And God is projecting them at all times, but nobody is receiving them and acting upon them. So this is what we're always working with, and this is why Master in various places just talks about the single most important thing on the spiritual path, more important even than long hours of meditation, is a corresponding effort to be in tune. And to be in tune means to be on the wavelength of what the divine is sending us. And if we're in tune with that, then we are replenished. So here again, this is a ritual that you can just go through, raise your hands, chanting Om, ask that the power of God replenish you in body, mind, and soul, like that. Or you can really say, I'm opening my hands, I'm here. I want this energy, I want to be replenished, I want to be renewed, I want to be uplifted in this. So coming back to where I was in meditation, it was, in this particular case, what I felt, it's, you open your heart and sometimes it gets hurt. And so over many lifetimes, and not hard to look at in this lifetime as well, hurtful things happen to me, either by my stupidity or by the stupidity of others, but one way or another, it doesn't make any difference. The heart gets hurt. And what I felt was really keeping me from Divine Mother was just holding on to those hurts. That was how I would put it. Holding on. And I say this humorously, and I weirdly have to say that this is a joke, because I actually had somebody present it back to me as if this was a serious statement. It is a serious statement, but it's meant in a joking manner. I felt like the epitome of what I was holding on to was somebody owes me an apology. And what that means is somebody done me wrong, and I'm owed like this, which of course is the antithesis of feeling that Divine Mother is in charge and she knows what she's doing. I've come much more deeply, this experiencing I'm describing was many years ago, I've come much more deeply to understand that my karma is my own. And even if somebody in front of me is participating in my karma, they are not causing it. They are not personally responsible for whatever reaction I have. My karma has drawn to me their actions. And their actions then manifest within me as my karma, which is that I'm thwarted, my feelings are hurt, I'm betrayed and abandoned, or let's be positive, I feel loved, I feel understood, I feel validated in all the best possible ways. But it's not really this person who's doing it to me. It's that my karma has drawn this, and therefore they get to participate in it, either as the villain or the hero, whatever it might be. But it isn't really their reality that's creating mine. My reality is creating a response to what they're doing. So the very idea that someone owes me an apology is like they're apologizing to me because I have karma. It's like, it's a little wacky. But what it represented to me in that experience was that I'm holding on to this vibration of self. Something has happened to me, and I need to be treated in a certain way. And that is a self-concerned vibration that is inconsistent with Divine Mother's unconditional love. And so, as fervently as I would pray, to Divine Mother, come into my heart, I just have to do a little more house cleaning before she can, because I'm holding on to these things. And it's like there's a certain perverse pleasure in that kind of suffering. It's just like, well, that's the only way to say it. There's a certain perverse pleasure. And we don't let go of those things until the pain of holding on to them is greater than the effort, what we perceive to be as the effort, the painful effort of letting go of them. But the pain of holding on has to be greater than the effort to let go. That's the tipping point. And so what gives that to us is the experience of freedom. And this is why spiritual growth is so nonlinear. It's like I don't change by beating this negativity out of me. I change because I have an experience of what it would feel like to be free. And that becomes so attractive to me that it's worth any price to get there. And then therefore, the pain of holding on is greater than the effort required to become free. And this is why on the spiritual path satsang is so important. This is why we do the Festival of Light. Know that forever you and he are one. Oh my gosh, what an idea. Raise your hands and feel that the power of God, pray that the power of God replenish you in body, mind, and soul. Can it really? Can I really raise my hands and feel that I am being replenished on all levels? Body, mind, and soul. You see how magnificent that can be? Now I'm going to end this on a completely absurd note. One time, let's see, what happened? It was my partner. Maybe it was I. I think perhaps it was I who said it. I was leading the festival, and I stood up and I asked, pray that God refurbish you in body, mind, and soul. Refurbish means to redecorate. Like this chair's a little shabby, it needs refurbishment. Now, the context now sort of, I can't quite remember exactly what happened, whether I said it out loud, whether I started to say it, whether I had to correct it. All I remember was laughing so hard I couldn't go on. And now, I've managed, I think, probably until now, and now I've cursed myself again. Every time I would get up to lead the festival and I would come to this part, my brain would just start skitzing around. Is it replenish or refurbish, And the two words would switch and I would forget what they would mean. So a part of me always thinks, every so often when a group of people who lead the festival often are together, we all tell our horror stories, the moment. Of course, people have often said, oh, children of darkness, forsake the light. Just because your brain just goes somewhere else. And of course, if you can't be foolish and laugh, then what is life for anyway? So I hope I don't spoil it for you the next time, but we're not to be refurbished. Although, in fact, the word works, but we're to be replenished by the power of God, and may it be true every time for each one of us. God bless you.